Hello and welcome back to the Cyber Resiliency Summit with theCUBE. My name is Christophe Bertrand. I'm a principal analyst here at theCUBE Research. Our next guest is from Infinidat, which was named a finalist in the CUBE Awards. That was the CUBE Technology Innovation Awards, and they are the finalist in a very important category, the top data protection innovation category. So finalists were announced today. And we will have final results on February the 18th. So Infinidat is being recognized for its InfiniSafe Cyber Detection solution. And with me is somebody who needs no introduction because you will recognize him because of his beautiful shirt. It's Eric Herzog. Eric, welcome.
Great. Well, Christophe, thank you. We love being on theCUBE, and thank you again. We really appreciate being named a finalist. What we've done around our InfiniSafe technology, including InfiniSafe Cyber Detection, has been really well received by all of our end user base and by the channel partners who work with them, and it's been a really good ride with InfiniSafe. So again, thank you for theCUBE recognizing us for what we've been doing in cyber storage resilience and modern data protection.
Well, it's great to have you, and candidly, I think the recognition really comes from the market, right, at the end of the day. So tell us about your customer base. I mean, you've been doing this for a little bit of time now, started more on the storage side of things, expanding the solution to really go deep into what we call cyber resilience, which, by the way, could be an interesting conversation. How do you define cyber resilience? What does it mean for Infinidat?
Great. So our customer base is mostly the global Fortune 2000 and large government entities. It's a high-end solution only, so we don't do mid-range or entry storage. We just do high-end only storage solutions. So very demanding customer base. It's global in nature, so about 37% of the customers are in Europe and in Japan. We do very well in Japan. And then the rest are here in the Americas, mostly in North America. Spans a wide segment, so we do well in financial services. We do exceedingly well with the cloud provider community. So obviously they're all trying to compete with Google and Microsoft and Amazon. So they look for a rock solid foundation underneath so they can focus on their services. Backup as a service, disaster recovery as a service, storage as a service. So they want to focus on how they leverage that technology. They don't have the resources to literally build storage from the ground up. So we do very well with that segment. Obviously, we do exceedingly well in the manufacturing sector, the services sector. High tech is a huge segment for us with fellow high tech companies that leverage our technology. So it's gone very, very well with us. And we announced InfiniSafe originally back in February of 2022. And it is included in all of our products. So our InfiniBox family, both our hybrid primary storage and our all-flash primary storage. And then our InfiniGuard, which is purpose-built backup appliance. All this have the InfiniSafe software technology embedded, and it's for free. There's no charge for that. So if they don't want to use it, that's fine. We clearly suggest that they do, because cyber attacks aren't going away.
That's for sure, and it's the gift that keeps on taking, as I like to say, unfortunately. So let's talk about the secret sauce and what's really in the solution. You obviously have a purpose-built backup appliance. You have the storage systems, essentially, a couple of options there. Very high-end, high ingest, high speed, high capacity, everything's big, right? So that means there's a lot of data. What do you do that is so different, that allows you to manage all of this data and to, more importantly, make it secure in the context of cyber resilience?
Well, in addition to the standard security that you do at the administrative level, which everyone's doing these days, you never know, you could have a bad actor, so you don't want them stealing your company's secrets, or, you know, for some reason they leave the company putting malware in. So the normal security protocols from that perspective. But what we've done with InfiniSafe has gone way beyond that and gone to what can we do to help against cyber attacks from a storage perspective, the actual storage itself. So we have basically three elements. Base InfiniSafe, our InfiniSafe automated cyber protection, which seamlessly integrates with data center-wide cybersecurity technology, such as Microsoft Sentinel, IBM QRadar, or if the end user has a SOC, for example, a security operations center, and can seamlessly then kick off storage activities from getting hints from the cybersecurity software. And then we have our InfiniSafe Cyber Detection, which has two use cases. One is to scan snapshots or file systems, whatever, looking for malware or ransomware, and it can send alerts, including through an API, back into the cybersecurity packages themselves, saying, hey, we're seeing something. And of course, since the question if when you'll be attacked, it's how often you're going to be attacked. The reality is you need to scan if you need to do recovery. You need to make sure that you're not recovering malware ransomware. It's not like they're King Kong or Godzilla screaming and yelling at the top of their lungs, hey, I'm going to steal your stuff or destroy your stuff. It's all done surreptitiously. They are the ultimate Jason Bourne master spy that no one knows. And that's how they do it. So, you know, you've got to make sure that the snapshots or whatever you want to do the recovery actually is free of malware and ransomware, because it's all done on the down low. So you want to then scan before you actually do the recovery itself and make sure you're recovering a known good copy.
Right, and that's what's critical here. I think what we've seen is there's been a lot of investment in sort of the upfront, you know, type of technologies, you know, protection, detection, that's great, you know, trying to secure the perimeter, but you're right, it's only a matter of when, not a matter of if. Had a great conversation with other sponsors here at the summit, talking about social engineering and the fact that actually it's probably the biggest potential issue beyond all that we can do with technology. So now the time comes to recover, because somebody screwed up, somebody give the wrong credentials, or whatever the case may be. When it comes to recovery, how quickly can you get me back to a good copy of data? And maybe you have customer examples you can share.
Sure. So basically, we configure an immutable snapshot. We have a logical error gap that separates the management data plane. We create a fenced forensic environment. So now they've had an attack, and you want to take candidates to determine what is the known good copy. Then you can use our InfiniSafe Cyber Detection to scan that to see if there's a malware or ransomware. Or they could do it what I'll call the old-fashioned way, is call the SAP guys or the Oracle team or whatever is the application team and say, could you check to see if there's a malware or ransomware? And then you execute the recovery once you have a known good copy. Now, what we do uniquely is we guarantee the recovery time objective, the RTO. So we will guarantee in writing on our primary storage, the InfiniBox and the InfiniBox SSA, all flash, we will guarantee recovery of any data that size, and I mean petabytes and petabytes, in under 1 minute or less. We also guarantee on our InfiniGuard product, the purpose-built backup appliance, which works with all the major backup vendors, Veeam, Commvault, Veritas, you name it, we work with it. So when it's a backup data set on a purpose-built backup appliance, we guarantee recovery in under 20 minutes or less. So let me give you a real-world example. So we did in September a global webinar. And you know me, I'm almost 70 years old and I'm crazy. So if you can't demo your software live, your software is not very good. So when we do demos at Infinidat, whether it be a webinar such as that, at some, let's say, local show we do with one of our channel partners for end users, or at a big trade show, we only demo things live. So we demoed live in the middle of September on a global webinar, recovery of 2.5 petabytes of primary data storage. We guaranteed and did recovery of those 2.5 petabytes in 4 seconds. Okay, then, of course, because if I'm a master cyber criminal, I know it's not just about primary. I have to also ensnare the backup. So you need to have cybersecurity on primary storage and on backup storage. So we did it on the backup side, a 25.5 petabyte Veeam backup repository, but it could have been Commvault, could have been any Zerto, right. Doesn't matter to us, but it happened to be Veeam. We recovered that in 12 minutes, and we guarantee that in writing. So it's all about the recovery. Once you've got your known good copy, which whether you use our cyber detection technology to scan the potential candidates, or whether you do it with the application teams, right? Right. Either way, once you got the known good copy, we guarantee that recovery of under a minute or less, and it could be 10, 15 petabytes on primary, and on the backup side, it is anytime under 20 minutes. And no one is anywhere close to those recovery times at all, whether it be the backup vendors themselves or whether it be any of the other primary storage vendors. So we take it as a holistic approach, and we view this, think about the old days, okay? We're coming to you from theCUBE, Silicon Valley, and there really are earthquakes here. I was born in Silicon Valley, and there really are earthquakes here. Or, of course, the most common form of data loss other than humans is still fire. Right. Fire, flood, all those kinds of things. So that's a disaster. I would argue that not enough companies treat cyber threats just as a disaster. There's a fire in the data center, they have a whole disaster recovery plan, business continuity. We would argue that what you need to do is think of a cyber attack as just like a natural disaster, and have a whole recovery plan of what you're going to do and how you're going to do it. We contribute to that with A, the ability to scan the known good candidate, B, what we do with our snapshots and other things to ensure that you've got, hopefully, something that has not been infected, but then you scan it, and then incredible recovery times that no one can respond to. So we think that really cyber is a disaster, and if you treat it like a disaster, you'll be more effective at the recovery times and coming up with your entire recovery strategy. And it does need to be really well thought out of what you're trying to do.
Right, so I think there are a few things I'd like to unpack, because you've covered a lot of ground. First of all, RTO, very fast, including from backup. So let's talk about that, because there's a whole integration conversation there.
Right.
There's also a whole question around RPO, which is where we go back to, do you have a good copy? And I'd like to make sure we double click on that for our viewers, because they may think, oh, okay, I can get the data back with this great solution in a minute or 10 minutes. Well, that's great, that's fine. I mean, you can literally go back to sleep at this point, right? No.
No.
The problem is not that, it's RPO, and that's why we can talk about the extra work you do in the context of analyzing the data. But more importantly, I'm thinking about your comment here that this is just another type of disaster, or it should be considered a disaster. I think, for me, disaster recovery is dead. Now it's really cyber recovery. The one point I would make, maybe slightly disagreeing with you, is in the case of a fire or a flood, you kind of see it coming. Even if it can be quick, you can still see it coming.
True.
Even the terrible fires we're seeing in California right now as we speak, you could see them coming. So if you had a data center in the past, you could fail over to another location, a cloud option, whatever the case may be. And you could do that in an orderly fashion, meaning it's a graceful failover. A cyber attack, whatever the nature of it or problem, is definitely not graceful in any way, shape, or form in terms of how you would recover. So you have a very different animal. To me, it's a logical disaster, no question. It affects the data, or it affects the infrastructure, the systems, that power, the environment. But it is more complex because of the people. In a traditional world, you would go to the backup guy. Well, there's no more backup guy. Even in the enterprise, you don't have PhDs of backup anymore. You have essentially IT ops, IT generalists. Some may be more specialized in storage. Hopefully in the larger enterprises, you have that luxury. But by and large, the nature of the persona has changed. So my question to you is, before we get into the important discussion around RPO, and further detection, how do you reconcile and help your clients work with maybe other teams in the security space when they come from the traditional IT storage environments? And what do you see? I mean, what's happening? Is there any advice for our viewers?
Sure, I'd say the first level of advice is storage needs to be integrated into a comprehensive cybersecurity strategy for your company.
That's a big statement.
So you can't just think about the edge, you can't just think about the network, you've got to think, I mean, think about it. The data for these big global enterprises that we sell to, the bulk of the data that runs that company is sitting on the enterprise storage, whether it be ours or a competitor's. So if you don't think, storage is often not respected well enough. And we think on the cybersecurity side, you just have to make it part of the process. The data is sitting there. You've got to say, oh, I need to protect the edge. I need to protect the core server infrastructure. I need to protect the application layer. I need to protect. By the way, I should have cyber technology, which we provide with InfiniSafe, embedded into the storage as well, and pull it into an fully integrated model.
Right.
So that it's all working together.
So I'm going to argue that I think even the SecOps folks don't wake up in the morning thinking about storage.
Absolutely, we agree with that. We agree with that 100%.
So let's talk about integrations, right?
Sure.
Because this is essentially teamwork. One of the recurring themes I've heard throughout, the summit is it's not one vendor or one team can do it all, right? So how do you integrate specifically? You hinted at some integrations you're doing with essentially cybersecurity solutions.
Yes.
Tell us about that. Tell us about your approach, and how much of an investment is it for your dev teams to be doing this? I mean, is it critical? Is it a nice to do? Is it something that you spend a lot of time thinking about?
Sure. So what we've done is created what we call automated cyber protection. The automated cyber protection relies on APIs, industry standard APIs, that are exposed by the cybersecurity software or a SOC, and what we can receive in our InfiniSafe technology. So basically, what you would do is you have all these products, SIM, SOAR, if you've got a SOC, and so you've got all this, and you're not really including storage. So what we've done to help reduce the threat window is you can pre-configure. Our professional services team will help you do this at no charge, by the way. We don't charge for it.
Interesting.
So you have a professional services team that will help you do the API integration between Microsoft Sentinel, IBM QRadar, Splunk, Fortinet, whatever you're using, okay? When those cyber packages sense a threat, a note will be sent through the API, not someone picking up the phone, sending an email or texting. You literally go through the API, go right into InfiniSafe. Then you configure InfiniSafe on what you want to do. So let's say, for example, most customers are taking immutable snapshots of our customers because they're high-end enterprise. Great. So let's say I'm taking 2 a day. And let's say, since we're coming up to lunchtime shortly, that we execute a snapshot at 12 noon California time. Let's say that Microsoft Sentinel senses an attack at 1 p.m. Now, I'm doing it twice a day. The next snapshot I would take would not be until midnight California time. So what happens right now is when that package sends us a note, we will automatically kick off a snap right away. We won't wait because you don't want to have that gap, right? It could already be infected. It could be completely clean. If it's completely clean, how do you know that the cyber attack is not going to go after that storage thing? So it's all put into an automated set. It'll kick off a snap. If you want, and you have our InfiniSafe Cyber Detection, you can then not only create the snap, but then automatically scan it right away. And you do that through this API integration. Our professional services will help you. If you buy more storage later, fine, you say, hey, we bought 3 more arrays, da-da-da. Well, great, we'll help you configure that. Or we have, Microsoft Sentinel in this data center, but we bought your product for this data center in Europe, and they happen to use IBM QRadar. No problem. We'll get the professional services team, and we'll integrate it at the other data center. So we don't care what they're using on the cyber side, the SIM packages, or we use those APIs, and it'll automatically start kicking off storage activity automatically to help reduce that threat window.
So this ties us back to the conversation I wanted to have about RPO, because what you've described, in this case, it's a 1-hour interval, essentially. You have your noon snapshot, that's the way you designed it. 1 o'clock, or you're getting an alert, you snap just in case, right? So that gives you sort of an exposure of 1 hour. And it could be that it was infected at 12:05, it was only picked up later, we don't know. So what happens with that previous snapshot, let's say the noon one, or even the 1 o'clock one, what do you do to go detect stuff? How?
So that's our InfiniSafe Cyber Detection product that uses AI and ML to scan. So you can do it with this integration with other cybersecurity packages. You could also do it even if you're not doing the integration. So for example, we have customers who are not integrating with the automated cyber protection side. So they're not doing that level yet, but we've told them they should be, by the way. But what they are doing is they're taking snapshots every 4 hours. We have several customers that are on 4- and 6-hour intervals. And twice a day, they take those snapshots and they use the InfiniSafe Cyber Detection to scan them. Now, when it scans them, what will happen is, through an API, if it senses a problem, it will send through the API over to the cybersecurity side. Hey, storage on InfiniBox, blah, 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 this snapshot, there appears to be a problem, yada, 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 you should check into it. So we can send information that way. It'll send an email to the storage admins or whatever admins. It'll send an email or other things to the storage admin and the CISO's team. You set it up however you want. So you can do the scanning side after it's been kicked off by the cybersecurity software. So that's one use case. The other use case is you're just doing it, twice a day anyway, or once a day anyway. And anytime there's an issue in the GUI, or it'll come up and it's clean, medium risk, or high risk. So it's right there, and then you, again, through the API, can program it to, when it's a medium or high, maybe you decide it's high, maybe you decide it's either, it'll automatically send something back over to the security side and say, hey, the storage on the InfiniBox SSA, this snapshot seems to see something. So the communication between the cybersecurity side and the storage side is critical, and can start with the cybersecurity side, sending a note our direction, or if we're doing the cyber detection scanning on certain arrays, if it sees something, it can send a note the opposite direction. So it's a two-way communication. One's a different scenario because we're connected to with ACP, a SIEM, a SOAR, or a SOC configuration. And the other one, maybe you're not doing that, and that's fine. We recommend it highly, by the way. So you have an integrated solution. But even if you're not, you can send a message from the storage side back over to the security side saying, this snapshot appears to have an issue. Please take a look at it. So this way you're doing bi-directional from the security side to the storage, but also from the storage side to the security.
I think that's key, because what you're describing is really, I'm wondering if in RPO, the P doesn't stand for proactive. In one case, you're reactive, which is fair, and that's fine, and that's actually a great posture to be in. But here what you're saying is, well, I'm going to be proactive. I'm going to actually continuously scan through the snapshots. If I pick something up, then we go figure out what's happening, and maybe you're lucky and you can surgically fix the issue in prod. Maybe you have to go recover, and that's another conversation. So those two capabilities really allow you to compress the recovery point objective potentially.
Yes.
If you do it right.
Right. So, absolutely. And so remember, if you're not doing it, depending on how you're doing it, so if you're kicking it off when it comes in from the cyber side, you could have to go through 3 or 4 different snapshot timeframes to find a known good copy. Right. So that's the risk you run if you don't do complete integration. You complete integration, you're using the InfiniSafe Cyber Detection to scan your snapshots on a regular basis, once a day, twice a day, blah, blah, blah. And you do the integration, because if you're only doing it once a day or twice a day, you still have these big windows as we just described. So we'll kick something off right away. Well, guess what? Maybe that array is not impacted yet. Or maybe it was. Okay, then you have to go back to the snapshot you did 12 hours ago, or 4 or 6, whatever your cadence is. So it covers both ends. Obviously, if you do the more automated way, going bi-directional, then obviously you can get almost an instantaneous RPO, right? Because the storage will say, hey, we saw a problem, right, when we did the scan, or the cyber security software will say, hey, we're seeing an attack, so then we start taking a snap right away, and then we can scan that. So there's a lot of ways to skin the cat, as you say, but the idea here is to do it the right way, so it's done more proactively than being reactive, which is, oh, wait, maybe it's 2 days ago for a good snapshot. If you do it this integrated way between the cybersecurity software on one side, InfiniSafe and InfiniSafe Cyber Detection on the other side, and make it bi-directional, then that way, if the storage sees something, boom, a note goes to the security side. If security sees something, it goes to the storage side. So you have, and that was my point about integrating storage in a comprehensive cybersecurity strategy. That's why it's important.
Hence my statement. I think we're in a different world. It's really, cyber recovery is a different workflow altogether because of the bi-directional connections that have to exist, and beyond, because there are a bunch of other parts of the organization, the application layer, I'm thinking also, that need to be in the loop of that. So let's talk about some of the specific items we covered here. You have a number of technology components. You have storage. You have great software. Okay, everybody likes to talk about AI and ML, so I have to ask you. But you've already covered it. You already have automated through AI and I suppose ML a lot of
the scanning,
a lot of the complex things that you would have to do to be really, really good at detecting the problem or getting things back on track. What's your general strategy around AI ML? What are you trying to achieve? Are there some specific design points you're trying to get to? Are you building agents?
So basically what we're doing, obviously, is leveraging it in the cybersecurity side. Now we have, not part of this, but we also have announced a RAG solution for AI workloads and applications where we can do RAG to help improve that, but that's a separate discussion. So on the cyber side, the AI and ML is used in the cyber detection technology in InfiniSafe Cyber Detection, and it's used in there to help identify new threats, blah, 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 and do all the things, because the AI is constantly learning, obviously. So if there is the Christophe ransomware, and now there's the Herzog ransomware, and there's AI, and it sees this anomalous activity, and it's learning, it's whoa, it's doing a compare going, whoa, this Herzog ransomware is very similar to the Christophe. Wait, maybe it is ransomware. And then the next thing you know, so that's the AI and ML part that's embedded into the InfiniSafe Cyber Detection technology, and how we use that from a cyber resilience side. And like I said, we do have more generic support for AI workloads and applications, but that's for a separate theCUBE Summit versus this one focused on. So that's how we leverage it into cyber. The other thing we do is we also supplement that. So every one of our accounts gets what we call a technical advisor. We include that also at no charge. A couple of our competitors have them as well. I worked at both of them, by the way, so anyone who looks at my LinkedIn can figure out who they are. But they do charge for technical advisors. We don't. So every account has a technical advisor. So we tell them, and the technical advisor's job is not tech support. We have a separate tech support team. So that's tech support. Technical advisor's job is optimizing applications, workloads, and use cases and making suggestions. So for example, in the cyber instance, the TAs are telling all the accounts, You should be using InfiniSafe. Here's why. Here's what we suggest. We have an InfiniSafe reference architecture that covers the integration on the automated cyber protection with the cybersecurity side, and also what we do. So the TAs are there to help them deploy and implement. And then, of course, we have our professional service team that helps with the integration with our automated cyber protection and what we do with cybersecurity packages. So we make sure that what we're doing in AI and ML, that automates that detection, but we're leveraging our technical advisor team and professional service team to constantly be recommending to our customers, you need to do this, because just because we have it doesn't mean they're going to do it, right? So we're always doing it, and we have a reference architecture on the InfiniSafe technology on both the InfiniGuard and on the primary storage wire InfiniBox family, so they can leverage that as well. But they do that in concert with our professional services team and our technical advisors, and they are told on our side, they're instructed, we have this and it's a huge issue, blah, 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 so they need to be all over this and making sure that they're going through it. And not every customer does it.
I understand, and that's really, I think, another important message is that please listen to the vendors who know about the technology. Look, we've covered a lot of ground. Real quick, any final recommendation for our viewers?
So I think the big thing is if you're not including storage in your comprehensive cybersecurity strategy, that is a huge miss, okay? I would argue that because the bulk of the data in these large enterprises that we sell to is sitting on that enterprise storage, you essentially went away on vacation, you post on social media you're going on vacation. You didn't just leave the windows unlocked, but you literally opened the windows for them, and you opened your front door and your back door and said, come steal my stuff, steal my TV, steal my computer, steal my clothes, steal my wife's or husband's jewelry, steal it all. Okay, and that's really what you're doing if you're not leveraging and using cyber technology inside of a storage system like we have with InfiniSafe and integrating it with the other cybersecurity technology you're already using generically, and then put those together. So that is our biggest recommendation, is that they should be doing that. And again, the only thing we charge for out of all this is the InfiniSafe Cyber Detection. The base InfiniSafe, the InfiniSafe automated cyber protection that integrates with the cybersecurity packages, the technical advisor assistance, and the professional service, that's all free. They don't have to use it, but they're getting it for nothing. The only thing that we charge for at all is the scanning. The software InfiniSafe, other than the scanning, is embedded in every array they buy or our InfiniGuard purpose-built pack. So it's low risk and it's no cost. And we have teams, the technical advisor team, professionals, that will help them implement. Plus, we have written documentation like our reference architecture. So we think not doing it is really the crime. So yes, you have the cyber criminals, but you know what you can do. You're already doing cyber in, clearly, you almost always with the network, at the edge, right? Maybe on the server infrastructure. So do it on the storage too, because your data eventually ends up on that storage, and that's what the master cyber criminals are going after, the backup data sets and the primary storage data sets.
Well, Eric, thank you so much. With these great words of wisdom, I'd like to thank you, and I look forward to the next conversation about the roadmap and what else you're working on. So thank you for joining us on the summit today.
Great, thank you. We always love being on theCUBE, and you guys do a great job, not only with the vendor base, but more importantly, educating the end users and the channel partners that work with those end users on, here's the things you need to do, here's how you can make it better, and here, in this case, avoid the huge trap of a cyber attack.
Thank you. And to our viewers, stay tuned for more in the Cyber Resiliency Summit. My name is Christophe Bertrand, Principal Analyst here at theCUBE Research. Stay tuned.